Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Shri Saraswatyai Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Sada Shiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpada Shankaram Lokashankaram. Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutrabhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah. Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram. Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahi Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sarva Vedanta Siddhanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Sadgurum Pranatosmyaham. Sadgurum Pranatosmyaham. Bhagwan Shankaracharya has been dealing with the main topic of Anatma. And in this discussion, he completed Sthula and Sukshma Sharira discussion, and now has come to the discussion about Karana Sharira. The various features, various names of Karana Sharira were pointed out, and now the three gunas of Karana Shariram. One definition of this Karana Shariram called Maya, Trigunatmika Maya. So he's talking about the discussion right now we are in is about the three gunas of the Karana Sharira. And we just need to note that Shankaracharya does not make any difference between the Karana Sharira at the Vyashti level and Samashti level. At the level of individuality or totality, he is not making a difference and is discussing it at the same as the same. Okay. In any case, at the Karana Sharira level, there are no differences. So there will not be any difference of individuality and totality as well. It is now Shankaracharya has already discussed, dealt with, and we have seen the Rajoguna and Tamoguna of Karana Sharira. We have completed those discussions. Rajoguna being the cause of Vikshepa Shakti, projecting power, and the Tamoguna is the cause of Avarana Shakti, veiling, concealing, all that, covering, etc. And now he has come to the discussion on Sattva Guna. Sattva Guna topic is what will be discussed now, and he divides or subdivides Sattva Guna itself into three types. As it were, one is Sattva Guna, which is overpowered by Rajas and Tamo Guna. So even though we are talking about Sattva, Rajas and Tamas, none of the entities in this world are 100% Sattva or 100% Rajas, 100% no. It's always a mix. So when in that mixture, the Sattva Guna is overpowered by Rajas and Tamas, that Sattva Guna is called Malina Sattva. Malina, weakened. Malina Sattva. Then the next is Sattva Guna. And in that Sattva Guna, the Rajas and Tamas do not overpower. They may all be almost equal. So, and this is what is called Mishra Sattva. Mishra means mixed. Mishra Sattva. Then the third type of Sattva is that in which Sattva Guna is dominant. The other two are suppressed. Their contribution is much lower. Sattva Guna predominates, dominates. And that is called Shuddha Sattvam or Vishuddha Sattvam. So the three divisions under Sattva Guna is Malina Sattvam, Mishra Sattvam, and Shuddha Sattvam. And Bhashyakara points out, Sattvam Vishuddham Jalavati Tata Api Tabhyam Militva Saranaya Kalpate Yatratma Bimbaha Pratibimbitaha San Prakashayati Arka Ivakilam Jadam. In Malina Sattvam, a person is a samsari because Rajas and Tamas dominate in his life. Malina Sattva, Rajas and Tamas overpower Sattva. So such a person is a samsari. He does not lead a very intelligent life because for him Sattva is secondary. So he will be tossed around with various problems of life. He's samsari. That means he's heavily given into activity without asking the questions. Why am I doing this? What do I want to accomplish in this life? Why am I acting? And so on. He doesn't give much thought. He's just going with the flow. And he gets tossed around. Such a person does not know, or he begins to ask some of these questions. What is the higher purpose of life? Etc. Serious thoughts about come when he is 70, 80 or 85 or 90. Until that time, that thought doesn't even cross his mind. And then he begins to think, I should not have done this. I should have done something else. All that. Karmanaha, mogajnana vichetasaha, rakshasim asurim chaiva, prakritim mohinim shritaha. We have seen in the Gita also. So, Rakshasi Prakriti, is Raja Pradhana. Rajas dominates in his life. Asuri Prakriti will be Tamah Pradhan. He is given to such things. These people are given to that Rajas and Tamas. With the result, their entire life, because they have traveled from samsara to samsara, from one life to another, they are ever stuck there. They remain in samsara. That is the effect of result of Malina Sattva. In Mishra Sattva, a person is neither a total samsari nor is he liberated. A samsari is in Malina Sattva. A liberated person is going to be in Shuddha Sattva. So Mishra Sattvam is the middling category, in between the two. It's not a totally samsari, nor is he liberated. But thankfully, he is working for liberation. This person has diagnosed the problem. He is a sadhana chatushtaya sampanna adhikari, well qualified for this spiritual pursuit, this knowledge. Technically, he is still a samsari. He is not liberated. So he has to be called a samsari only. But he is different from other samsaris because he has understood what his problem is and is taking steps to correct them. He has acquired the necessary qualifications to solve the problem. The knowledge is lacking. I have to get that knowledge, all that he has understood. He is a ajnani only, but he is a pure-minded ajnani. He is ignorant, but he has good mind, pure mind. Then the third category is the person in Shuddha Sattva, in which a person has acquired the knowledge also. He is not a jnani. Aham Brahma Asmi, that knowledge he has. Therefore, he is a free person. Thus, verse 117 talks about Malina Sattvam. Verse 118 talks about Mishra Sattvam. And verse 119 talks about the Shuddha Sattva. We have already seen the Malina Sattvam in verse 117. And now we will start the discussion on Mishra Sattvam in verse 118. Let us read that verse 118. Mishrasya sattvasya bhavanti dharmah. Mishrasya sattvasya bhavanti dharmah. Tvamanitadya niyamaya madhyah. Tvamanitadya niyamaya madhyah. Shraddha cha bhaktischa mumukshuta cha. Shraddha cha bhaktischa mumukshuta cha. Daivi cha sampattir asannivrittihi. Daivi cha sampattir asannivrittihi. Mishrasya sattvasya bhavanti dharmah. Tvamanitadya niyamaya madhyah. Shraddha cha bhaktischa mumukshuta cha. Daivi cha sampattirasannivrittihi. So he says, Mishrasya sattvasya dharmah bhavanti tu. Now, the characteristics or expressions of Mishra Sattvam, that kind of a personality in which Sattva Guna is dominant, but Rajas and Tama Guna, Rajo Guna totally subservient. They are still there. Amanitadya, all the virtues mentioned in Gita 13th chapter, Amanitvam, So that is what he's referring to when he says amanitadya, amanitva, etc. That Bhagavan talks about in the 13th chapter. Those good qualities, noble virtues will be present in him. So thus by saying amanitadya, Shankaracharya assumes that you have already studied the Gita. And most of you have, I know, majority of you have studied. And by the way, all of us belong to this category only. They are talking about us only. We are not totally Malina Sattvic people. We are still work in progress. We want to know this truth. We are working towards all this. So this is a description of where you and I stand only. That's it. And in the 13th chapter, you may recall there were 5 verses which talked about the important qualifications required for learning, required for understanding, assimilating Vedanta philosophy. And it begins with the shloka amanitvam, adambitvam, ahimsa, kshanti, arjavam, the 8th verse in 13th chapter. And that discussion concluded with the shloka adhyatma jnana nityatvam tattva jnanata darshanam etad jnanam iti proktam ajnanam yatadon anyata. It ended with verse 11. So from verse 8 to 11, it was discussed. There, if you recall, Bhagavan, instead of calling them as qualifications or values, virtues, etc., he called it as jnanam itself. He called it jnanam with the idea that if you have all these virtues, it is as good as having gained the knowledge. It's just a matter of time. Once you have these qualifications, these qualities, these virtues, just a matter of time before you gain that jnanam. So he calls them jnanam itself. In any case, I don't want to make this a Gita class. Here we will deal, and there we have dealt with every value and all that. Amanitvam, humility, adambitvam, simplicity, ahimsa, non-violence, shanti, peace and tranquility, arjavam, straightforwardness, etc. we have seen. I urge each one of you to go through that chapter again to reinforce those ideas. More importantly, we should strive to live those values. That is what is most important. Bhagavan has also repeated them in the 16th chapter, if you recall. There also virtues were listed, talked about, and they were called Daivi Sampat, divine wealth of virtues. In 13th chapter, he called them Jnanam, and in the 16th chapter, he called them wealth, wealth of virtues. So we can appreciate the importance of those. So Vedanta emphasizes morality. Very important. So please review these sections in chapters 13 and 16 once again. That will be very useful. This is how we need to study. And there are some cross references. You go back and review what was discussed there to reinforce and make your understanding solid. Then, niyamaha yamadhyah. Again, this is something that we have seen. Patanjali has given the Ashtanga Yoga Shastra. Described, it's a beautiful science that talks about integration of our personality at the various levels, physical, emotional, intellectual, moral, spiritual, at all levels, how to integrate our personality. At all levels, the personality should be healthy, well coordinated. And in Ashtanga Yoga, eight steps were talked about. And of those, Yama and Niyama, it all starts with that. That deals with our character. They talk about our values, our disciplines. Thus, Patanjali Muni also conveys the idea that without moral health and spiritual progress will be impossible. Without moral character, even physical health is impossible. So if a person takes to a life of indulgence, it will destroy him physically also. So the first value is Yamaha, 5 types of do's. Actually, don'ts. Ahimsa, Satyam, Asteyam, Brahmacharyam, Aparigraha. So it's actually all negative. Ahimsa, non-violence. Satyam, not lying. Asteyam, not stealing. Brahmacharyam, non-indulgence. Aparigraha, non-accumulation. So 5 types of don'ts. You can say. Then niyama. Niyama are positive values. Shaucham, santoshaha, tapaha, swadhyayaha, and Ishvara pranidhana. Shaucham, purity. Purity at all levels. Santoshaha, contentment. Tapaha, austerity, penance, etc. Swadhyaya, scriptural study. And Ishvara pranidhana, worship of God. So all these disciplines, very basic, the foundation, fundamental. The next expression of Mishra Sattvam is Shraddha, faith in God, faith in scriptures, and in the Guru, until I discover the truth. See, normally the scientific approach is, until I discover, I do not accept it. I will be a Nastika. But the traditional approach in Vedanta, in spirituality is, until I discover, I believe, I give the benefit of doubt. And then I go about finding out that indeed is the truth. Problem is, if you do not believe, you would not even take any steps to that discovery. We've talked about Shraddha earlier also, and this point was made even there. So, I don't know. But this is what Shastra says. I believe in what Shastra says, and I will take efforts to confirm that. Whatever is necessary, I will proceed on those lines, and that eventually what is said in the scriptures, I will get to know. So I believe and do everything in keeping with my belief to discover God, to discover the truth. God, it's not just a matter of belief forever. Okay. But it is the belief at the beginning only. With that, you continue the study and you will discover the truth. A matter of understanding or knowing. Until then, I keep the faith. Shraddha. And then bhakti, reverence to the Lord, to the scriptures, and to Guru. They're all important, very important. Upanishad says, Yasya deve parabhaktihi, yata deve tata guru. Tasyaite katitahi artaha prakashante mahatmanah. The one who has the intense devotion to the Lord and also equally intense devotion to the Guru also, yata deve, as much bhakti he has towards the Lord, tata gurau, that much devotion he has to the Guru also. Tasye yete katita hi artah prakashante mahatmanah, to that mahatmana, to that great devotee, all the Upanishadic teaching will become crystal clear. So bhakti is very important. Devotion to the Guru, devotion to the scriptures, devotion to the Lord. If you have that, the truth will be so bright and clear. So bhakti is another trait of Mishra Sattvam. Then the next natural expression is mumukshuta. Mumukshutacha and mumukshuta. When one shifts from Malina Sattvam to Mishra Sattvam, the priorities in life takes a big change. The Malina Sattva level, Dharmartha Kama are the priority. The Chaturvida Purushartha, Dharma, Artha, Kama dominates a person who is under Malina Sattva. In Mishra Sattva level, he shifts to moksha as the priority. Dharmartha, Kama, moksha. Moksha, which is Parama Purushartha, he makes that a priority. Someone who has this Malina Sattva. All the others are meant for attaining moksha and that alone. So if I have to choose between moksha and any other thing, I will choose moksha only. That kind of a shift in priority is called mumukshuta. One who has an intense desire for moksha. The desire for moksha is there, but moksha is not yet there. The desire is there. And he is taking steps to get there. Next step, Shuddha Sattvam. In Shuddha Sattvam, that Jnani will have attained moksha. Whereas Mishra Sattvam, he is working towards it. He has mumukshita, his desire for liberation. In Malina Sattva, moksha desire itself is not there. He doesn't even think about those things. Then Daivicha Sampattihi, which I've already mentioned from chapter 16 of the Gita. Again, as I told you, please go through that. Then the final one is Asat Nivrittihi. Asat means Mithya Prapancha. Asat here refers to the falsity of the world. The word Sat means Brahman, Satya. So Asat means the opposite, Mithya. So Nivrittihi means turning away from the pursuit of Mithya Prapancha. So even the pursuit of service, etc., selfless service, etc., we consider it as asat nivrittihi because that will lead to dharma and punyam or name or fame. All of them will come under perishable, limited results only. That will also be another type of golden bondage. I am very happy as long as I serve. When I am not able to serve, I am miserable. Therefore, that is a kind of bondage. Whereas moksha is that in which I serve the world, but my happiness does not come even from the service to the world. My happiness comes from myself. I serve as long as I can, and if I'm not able to serve, that also does not make any difference. In dharma, a person tries to find happiness through service. In moksha, he is already happy. And from that happiness, completeness, he serves the world. So even dharma will come under mithya only. Then what is satyam? Anyatra dharmat, anyatra adharmat. We have seen in Kathopanishad. It's beyond dharma and adharma. And Bhagavan says in the Gita also, ultimately what? Sarva dharman parityajya. He says that give up everything, just surrender to me. So you should not allow even dharma to become a bondage. There are many dharmic people who are upset when there is a lot of adharma in the world. That is also a bondage. Then what is freedom? I follow dharma, but I will not be upset by the adharma in the world. As much as possible, I will do my best to bring out dharma around. But whether I succeed or not, whether adharma is prevalent or not, I am not upset over it. That is going beyond dharma and adharma. Otherwise, if I am too much attached to dharma, it is asat pravritti. Going beyond dharma is asat nivritti. All these things are natural expressions of not Shuddha Sattva. If we see the description, it will look like it is Shuddha Sattvam. He says that is not Shuddha Sattvam. This is only Mishra Sattvam. A tinge of Rajas and Tamas is there. Then what is Shuddha Sattvam? That he talks about in verse 119. Let us read. विशुद्धसत्त्वस्य गुणाः प्रसादः विशुद्धसत्त्वस्य गुणाः प्रसादः स्वात्मानुभूतेः परमा प्रशान्तिः स्वात्मानुभूतेः परमा प्रशान्तिः तृप्तिः प्रहर्षः परमात्मनिष्ठा तृप्तिः प्रहर्षः परमात्मनिष्ठा यया सदानन्दरसं समृच्छति यया सदानन्दरसं समृच्छति विशुद्धसत्त्वस्य गुणाः प्रसादः स्वात्मानुभूतेः परमा प्रशान्तिः तृप्तिः प्रहर्षः परमात्मनिष्ठा यया सदानन्दरसं समृच्छति. The Malina Sattva is over. We talked about it. The Mishra Sattvam, we talked about it. Now we come to Shuddha Sattvam, which is otherwise called Vishuddha Sattvam. So they both mean the same. Vishuddha Sattvasya Gunaha. The expression, the characteristic of Shuddha Sattva, what are they? They are the following. The first one is Prasadaha, tranquility, enduring peace, the balance of mind. That is called Prasadaha. When we receive anything from the temple as Prasada, what is our attitude? We accept it without any question, without any resistance. We get anything from anyone else, we never get the trupti, satisfaction. We're highly critical. But when we get something from the temple as the prasada, there's no criticism, no resistance. When resistance, criticism, etc. go away, then there is prasada, tranquility. So that is one expression of this sattva, shuddha sattva. Next, swatmanubhutihi. Swatmanubhutihi. Swatma means one's own atma. Swa atma, swatma. We are going to see what it is later because now we are dealing with anatma. Later, the discussion about Atma will follow. So, more of this we will see later. Here, Anubhuti means immediate knowledge. Immediate. The word immediate is used in a technical sense. Normally, immediately means what? Quickly, right away. Time gap. Instantly. That's what we understand by immediate. But here, the meaning of immediate is without a medium. That is the meaning, technical meaning, when we say immediate knowledge. The meaning of immediate is without a medium in this context, a knowledge in which no medium is required. And that is called immediate knowledge. Now you see, consciousness is self-evident. It is because of consciousness, everything is known. And consciousness is not known because of another consciousness. That is not possible. Thus, consciousness is self-evident. It is immediate. It doesn't require another medium. In a dark room, to say, I know I am there or I am not there. Do you need any medium? It's a dark room, you and I are sitting there, pitch dark. I cannot tell you if you are there or not. But do I need anything to tell whether I am there? So, the self is self-evident. Consciousness doesn't require any other medium. If you are in the dark room to see whether you are there, I need some other light. A medium is required. I do not need any sense organ, any light to say I am there. I do not need any medium to know myself. The knowledge about myself is immediate, self-evident, because consciousness is self-effulgent. That I am is an eternally evident fact. Their self-knowledge is called aparoksha jnanam, which is here called swatmanubhuti. That is what is meant by swatmanubhuti, swa-atma anubhuti. The immediate knowledge of the self as aham chaitanya swarupam asmi. I am that consciousness. I am ever the experiencer and never the experienced. This is another expression of Vishuddha Sattva. Then, Parama Prashantihi, supreme peace of mind or peace. Here also we have to differentiate because Adhikari also has peace of mind. Sadhana Chatushtaya Sampanna Adhikari, he has peace of mind. He has Shanti. And then Muktaha, one who is a Jnani, who is liberated, also has Shanti. And what is the difference between the two? The Adhikari's peace of mind expresses only as a relative peace of mind. But a Jnani's peace of mind is absolute peace. So the whole journey is get that relative peace of mind first, study Vedanta, gain the knowledge, and get the absolute peace. So that is the journey. A poor man did not have any way of getting money because he was illiterate. He didn't have any skills. He was upset. He thought, I'll buy a lottery ticket. But his problem was he didn't even have the money to buy a lottery ticket. Similarly, for coming to Vedanta, you need some peace of mind. Then only you will come here. Otherwise, you cannot even get started. So with that relative peace of mind, you come to Vedanta Vichara, then you gain the knowledge and gain that absolute peace of mind in Vishuddha Sattva. The Apeshika Shanti is called Mishra Sattva and Atyantika Shanti is called Shuddha Sattva. That is the difference. One is relative, the other one is absolute. That's why Shankaracharya adds the adjective Parama Supreme. Supreme, Parama Prashanti, absolute peace. Next, Trupti, contentment. The greatest problem that we suffer is we compare. Comparison in any field. I am, and I compare myself to somebody else. Comparison creates discontentment. I feel smaller than someone. Therefore, the struggle begins. In any field, including spiritual field. If Vedanta is not properly assimilated, there also competition can happen. The student who has studied the Bhagavad Gita, he may become jealous of a student who has studied Gita and the Upanishads. And the one who has studied Gita and the Upanishad may be jealous of a person who has studied Gita, Upanishad and Brahma Sutra also. Like that comparison is there in any field. Once Vedanta is assimilated, Truptihi, no more comparison, no more competition, no feeling of jealousy, there is contentment. Truptihi. Then Praharshaha means Purnatva, complete. Complete fulfillment is there. In fact, Trupti is a consequence of Praharsha. I am totally full and complete. Therefore, I have contentment. We've already seen this. Way back in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita also we had seen. When discussing about Sthita Prajna Lakshana. Prajahati yata kaman sarvan partha manogatan atmani eva atmana tushtaha. One who drops all binding desires because of the discovery of fulfillment. He is content in the self, by the self. Thereafter, even if he has desires, those desires are not for fulfillment, but they are out of fulfillment, out of completeness. Desires for fulfillment are binding desires. Desires from fulfillment are non-binding desires. Therefore, praharsha means fulfillment. Trupti means consequent freedom from binding desires. Not only that, Paramatma Nishtha, ever established Nishtha is there, abidance is there. In that Paramatma Nishtha, which is the real nature, being established means non-forgetfulness of the fact that I am Paramatma. Not forgetting that. Ever knowing that I am that Paramatma. Even when the ego is invoked in worldly transaction, you don't lose sight of your real nature. That kind of an abidance is there. That non-forgetfulness is possible in this class. When we listen to this, when you're totally absorbed in this, you need not invoke your ego, husband, wife, father, mother. Those thoughts are not there. And that ego is not invoked. Vedanta is easy. Everything you understand. So clear. But when you step out of the class and when you get into the transactions of the world, the transactional ego gets invoked. Then all problems start. But when the ego is invoked, and even then I do not lose sight of my absolute nature, that is called nishta, that abidance. The jnani has such a nishta. Somebody who has a shuddha sattva, he has that kind of abidance. So that is called atmanishta, brahmanishta, jnananishta, sagaja samadhi. All those various terms are there to describe that situation. Or in the language of the second chapter, sthita prajna, sthira prajna. All means the same. Then you may get a doubt. What is the difference between swatmanubhuti that we talked about, the knowledge of the nature of oneself, and paramatmanishta, the abidance in Supreme Brahman? They are both knowledge of the absolute reality. The difference is in swatmanubhuti, the aparoksha jnanam is talked about. Whereas in Paramatma Nishta, he talks about the jnanam without the obstacles in the form of habitual dehatma vasana. Finally, scriptures categorize Jivan Mukta as Vishuddha Sattva. Other people also see him as Vishuddha Sattva. But the beauty is the jnani himself, he does not claim himself to be Vishuddha Sattva. The Vishuddha Sattva belongs to Anatma. Therefore, Jnani's Anatma is Vishuddha Sattva. But the Jnani does not claim that the Anatma has his nature. Therefore, he will say, I'm not even Vishuddha Sattva. But he claims he is Gunatita. So that is the difference. Vishuddha Sattva is still Sattva. Jnani has gone beyond that. Gunatita, having gone beyond that guna also. Gone beyond Vishuddha Sattva. That is the difference. That is what was said in the 14th chapter. If you, again, you can go back to 14th chapter of the Gita. This idea is talked about Gunatita. Nanyam gunepya kattaram yada drashta anupashyati gunebhyascha parambeti madbhavam sodhi gacchati. It's talked about in the 14th. Gunatita, going beyond. So Vishuddha Sattva is predominantly Sattva. So when we talk about the Jnani, he has gone beyond that Vishuddha Sattva. So he is Gunatita. Therefore, who is a Jnani? If you ask, we have two answers. One is from other standpoint and another from his own standpoint. From other standpoint, they will talk about Vishuddha Sattva. From his standpoint, he is a Gunatita. That is called Paramatmanishta. Gunatita Brahmanishta. Therefore, Yaya Sadananda Rasam Samruchati. He attains the ever blissful nectar. When we say he enjoys Ananda, we do not talk about experiential pleasure. Because any experiential pleasure is conditional, subject to coming and going, time, space, and all that. That's why we say Sada Ananda Rasam. The bliss is always there for him. It means Ananda Swarupaha iti jnanam, the knowledge that I am ever full. I am ever complete. I do not lack anything in life. This wisdom is Ananda Rasa, of the nature of happiness. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.